Hi, buddy. I'm Candid. Frankie's Aaron William Freeland, and this is Leaf Talk. We're going to do a little bit of a tweak on the program, and we're going to still be Leaf Talk, but we're going to open it up. We already have, actually. It's nothing new, and start talking about everything Canadian as far as sports are concerned, whether it be amateur, professional, even athletes. Yeah, we'll do that too. So Aaron's been doing pretty much that, but I would just let you know that we're doing it with intent now, not just, not just, it doesn't look like an accident. It's all intentional. So the big thing now, I guess, is what we're talking about is now that Marner and Matthews, two guys tied at the hip, are now on opposing teams. There is a cause and effect when a player leaves a team and a teammate. New relationships are created, and old relationships are changed or altered.
Yeah, it creates an entirely new dynamic. Makes things a little bit more interesting for those of folks out there that are interested in wagering. For example, the hockey news is Jake Ty is reporting that Sportsbooks has revealed a head-to-head prop bet between former teammates. Obviously the 25-26 season hasn't even started yet, but the odd makers are already fueling one of the most intriguing individual matchups in recent memory. Who's going to score more points between Mitch Marner or Austin Matthews? Following Marner's high-profile move to the Vegas Golden Knights, they've opened a new prop bet in FanDuel, with Marner listed as a favorite at -142 to finish with more points than his former Toronto Maple Leafs teammate Austin Matthews, who's listed with +120 odds. Now, Marner's coming off a career best season in which he posted a career high 102 points. Matthews, meanwhile, still managed to record 33 goals and 45 assists for 78 points. So it's interesting to see how this is all coming into play now. For those of you who were of the Marner sucks camp, as versus Matthews is nobody without Marner, this is an opportunity to put your money where your mouth is and see who turns out where.
Well, I'd put my money on Marner getting more points. It's common. It's not unusual that goal scorers do not get as many points.
But the work that Matthews has been putting in recently, trying to turn himself into more of a well-rounded player, could actually result in him actually getting more points.
Absolutely. He's trying to go down the same road that Steve Yzerman went on.
And it's definitely going to make it interesting for sure.
Steve Yzerman was a pure goal scorer and a point producer, and he decided that he was going to be playing a 200-foot game, which he did. And after doing that, irony of irony, he scored one of the biggest goals of his career in the Stanley Cup. So it doesn't negate the importance of goals, right? Just because you don't make as many points as, the apples count. Like, don't get me wrong, the apples count. But you and I both know that goals are worth more than apples. And they give more apples on a goal than they do goals, right? Points on, there's one goal, but there can be two apples. So,
right.
So there's twice as many opportunities to increase your point total if you're going after apples as opposed to goals.
And that's what makes everything more interesting, is the fact that there are more opportunities for points when it comes to apples as opposed to straight up goals. So
yeah, and then there's apples and crab apples. There's the primary apple, and then there's the secondary apple. So the value of points is inherently, through time, we've figured out. I mean, it's like a dead man walking. Nobody talks really that much about the fact that the points are easy to get because of assists. It's the goal scoring that counts, and that's who makes the big money. That the two things that Marner can't do is lead the league in scoring goals, which we'll see if he does it this year, and also be a pure defensive center, because he's not a center. So the position itself requires more responsibility. And so, to your point, because you're quite frankly pointing out the fact that what Matthews does, there's more responsibility available to him, and there's more that he can do that isn't. It's almost like, the goal scoring thing, or the amount of goals that he scores, and the hard work he does. So it's easier to not respect what Matthews is doing because of the way that works, the way points work, and the way defense works. So you got to admire him if he's going to do it and do it well.
For sure. And that's, one of those things that plays into the odds, the way that they've got it set up. As it currently stands, Matthews at 27 has 401 goals and 326 assists for 727 points in 620 NHL games, including 260-goal seasons. Then, you factor in what Marner's done over that same period of time, and it makes it definitely more interesting. He's got 741 points through 657 games and 63 points in 70 playoff games. So that definitely makes the race a little more interesting. I might put a toonie down on this just for the heck of it, just to see where it goes.
Is there a bet on who will advance further in the playoffs?
See, that hasn't entered into it yet. I'll have to reactivate my FanDuel account.
I'm just saying that to me, that's probably been a better bet, a more interesting bet, which player goes further in the playoffs.
That'd definitely be interesting for sure.
Absolutely. Talk about Robertson and the fact that he is now being he is depending on arbitration to decide his value, and subsequently it could decide whether he's a Maple Leaf or not.
Yeah, it was a career year for him with 15 goals plus 7 assists for 22 points in 69 games this year. But he lost out on a lineup spot once the playoffs rolled around. He appeared in 3 games with Toronto in the postseason, getting a goal and an assist over those 3 games against the Sens and the Panthers. It's now over a year since Robertson reportedly requested a trade out of Toronto before signing a 1-year, $875,000 contract back on September 10th. There is a chance that they could actually agree on a qualifying offer before the hearing date, which is set for August 3rd. But as it currently stands, because the Leafs extended a qualifying offer, the club retains his rights entering the offseason before he filed for arbitration on July 5th. This is one of the harder things that you can do in the NHL, just mainly because you're the player is trying to convince an independent arbitrator that he's worth a lot of money, and it's in the team's best interest to try to prove that he's not. And there's the very real opportunity that some feelings and egos could be hurt here. And Robertson may just be asking Toronto at the end of the day to just be moved as opposed to completing the arbitrations process. But
the arbitration process is going to come up with a figure, and the figure is mathematical. And by that, I mean, they're going to take into consideration how little ice time he's had to score the goals that he scored. And it's going to be a factor. It's not how many goals he got in a season. It's how many goals per minutes and all that kind of stuff, where, there's going to be a debate over how efficient he is scoring. What kind of percentage of time on ice does he have and score a goal? Will the defensive aspect of his game somehow be calculated? I don't know. Under these circumstances, I think that's soft pedaled. I think the big thing is offense. What can they prove that he's doing offensively? And good news for Robertson, that's what he does. He scores. For the amount of ice time that he's had with the Maple Leafs, Aaron, he has produced. The problem is he's also produced eggs when it comes to 200-foot game.
Well, that's the one major thing going in his favor here. Based on his ice time, which is limited to just over 11 and a half minutes a game, he has 56 points in 156 career games. That's 32 goals and 24 assists. that's one of those things that shows the Maple Leafs that he can be reliable and dependable in their bottom six. He may not necessarily get the money that he wants, but there's a very good chance that he gets the roster spot that he deserves.
You got a number in your head that you think the arbiter will give him? I'm saying about between 2.3 and 2.5.
See, I was going to say 1.75 and 1.9. I'm skewing a little low, but again, that's based on past injury and performance during the playoffs, which is something else they're going to be counting on for him. And seeing as they tend to take a lot of other intangibles into account when deciding on these salaries for their players, 1.85 to 1.9 seems decent. Yeah,
it's the conversation you just had and the definition of his game that you just laid out that's going to be the problem with him in the courtroom. Right? Like when they say that you've been injured a lot, when they say that you haven't been an efficient enough player to be put on, be put in games. The counteracting comment is going to be, again, it's going to be, well, my offensive output, or his representative will refer to the fact that he scores per minutes per game. He scores a lot of goals. That's why I think he's going to get above. Like right now, remember, we're now talking about a higher cap, right? So the amount of money, last year's $2 million is this year's 2.3, or 1.8 is 2.3 right now. So we'll see how it turns out. I think he's going to be overpaid, and the problem then becomes, can you trade him, and will you get a decent asset for a guy who may be overpaid? Because the other team is going to repeat everything Toronto said about Robertson. They're going to say it to the Leafs and go, "Wow, this guy, you didn't play him that much. He didn't really play much, 200 per game. We'll give you a fourth round pick. What do you think?" That kind of thing. But if I were the Leafs, I'd actually think about taking it.
Well, and the reason why I'm saying he caps out at about 1.9 million is because they currently have 2.933 081 million, $2,933,081. I think they'd like to operate with a $1 million buffer. So 1.9 to 1.93 is probably where it caps out at. Treliving's not helping himself. He's come out and said, I think Nick's a good player. He's still young. He's still an evolving player, and he's got a skill set, and he shoots it to the net. That's a good skill set to have. But with the depth that they're looking at here, the Leafs may need to move off Camp and Yarncroke in order to make sure that they have enough room to sign him if he's going to be getting anything more than 1.93.
That's why I'm saying he will become an unfortunate reason why he goes is going to be not because the Leafs don't want him, not because he doesn't work into their future. He just doesn't work into their present. And that's the problem. Right now, he doesn't present a present situation. And I'm saying, I basically built a scenario that he's going to be in your estimation. I say in your estimation, because if you're right and they say he gets 1.819, then okay, then maybe now keeping him is a real good idea. But if the arbiter says he gets 2.5, the Leafs have motivation to walk away from him because of what you said. Cap space is limited.
Yeah.
So, but this is what happens. And, he's a good player, but he's not the new version of the Maple Leafs. He does not fit the profile, literally and figuratively. Small players can fit into organizations. There's a guy in Florida that left Boston that now just re-signed with Florida after winning a cup. He's not a giant guy. But the difference is he plays a little bigger. That's what Robertson doesn't do, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember at one point we were already anointing him the Leafs' new savior, and I was like, that's pushing it a little bit. You got to give the kid a little bit of time,
Well, we'll see. Can he play in the power play? The problem is his youth betrays him, because he, from time to time, the reason he ends up out of the lineup or up into the press box is because he makes a youthful mistake. The kind of mistakes that happen when you start to play. what he's learned has been on very limited ice time, Aaron. You gotta, for you and I, we can be fair about this guy and say, hey, look, what he's done based on the time that the Leafs have given him on ice and the time he spent from the time he was drafted till now, he's had very limited time to gain experience. So if he goes to a team that gives him experience and lives through the mistakes that he makes at the beginning, there's going to be an upside. The kid's a good goal scorer. He's a good skater, and he does want to play. Like he does want to chase the puck. He's not afraid, to go into the corners. He'll do it, and he tries using his small frame, to push other players or hit other players. So he has the basics of being a good hockey player. What he doesn't have, Aaron, and what hurts him more than anything, and it's sad, is experience. And while the Leafs can be blamed recently, his injuries early in his career really did derail whatever progress he could make. And now the sum of what all these situations have come home to roost now. Now we'll see what the arbiter says. We'll see the Leafs' reaction to the arbiter's decision.
The other thing that I think the Maple Leafs are probably going to hold against him as well is the fact he's only 5'9" and only weighs 178 pounds. And a lot of pundits like to say you can't teach height.
No, you can't teach size either. All right, so this is weird. Dakota Johnson is quoted as saying he wants to play here a long time, like Phil Kessel. Did anybody mention to him that he got traded?
Look, in fairness to Dakota Joshua, Phil around for a decent period of time.
He did, and he scored well, and he played well for the team, and the team,
he did play 6 seasons with the Leafs, and he was one of our top scorers during that time. Actually, I think he was the top scorer.
Yeah, he was. There was.
Yeah,
and then he got traded, and he won 2 cups. Good for him.
Yeah. Well, he was originally drafted by the Leafs in the 5th round, 128th overall back in 2014. So to have him coming back is one of the good things. The fact that they picked him up for a 2028 4th round draft pick is another thing entirely. There were a lot of people that weren't particularly happy with Dakota Joshua's performance, forgetting that he's a testicular cancer survivor as well. So, when he isn't fighting cancer, he's a decent player.
He's had his distractions. Yeah. Well, we'll see what he does. The pressure is going to be on him. It's my hope. I forgot the guy's name now. The Leafs signed him a long time ago, and he was a physical guy. He can't play for the Leafs. He got a suspension the first week he was playing, got a penalty, or he was kicked out of the game and got a suspension his first game with the Leafs. I forgot his name now, but it doesn't matter. The point is, I hope they soft pedal the importance of how he plays. This guy, this kid, I call him a kid because he's not that old. I think he's somebody that has to be given an opportunity to find his game and find his place on this team. I hope he doesn't read the stuff that we're hearing about him, because that's a lot of pressure that he's got to be really physical and that kind of stuff. He can't be untethered. He has to be tethered. He has to play the game the coach needs him to play. And that game does not include running amok. There has to be method in the madness.
No, you know what? At 6'3", 206 pounds, the fact that he's now he just turned 29 back on May 15th. So, he's getting a little bit up there, but there's valuable experience that he's had, with the St. Louis Blues, and for the past 3 seasons with the Vancouver Canucks, not to mention the time that he spent in the AHL with San Antonio, Utica, and the Springfield Thunderbirds. After the Leafs drafted him, he went back to Ohio State, where he played. He spent another 4 seasons there before coming into the A with San Antonio. He scored 9 goals and had 13 assists in 32 games with them. And while not exactly eye-popping numbers, for a left-handed shot center, it's a good thing to see. Mac Hollowell wore the same number that he's wearing, 81. Phil Kessel wore it between 2009 and 2015. Dakota Joshua wore it with the Canucks. it's one of those things where he said, yeah, I wanted to pick it just because I sort of felt a connection to Phil there.
Well, good for him. If he can score as
Yeah.
many goals as Phil, they're going to be really happy with him. Let's move on to the NBA and the Raptors in particular. They did well in summer league.
Yeah, they were a nice little surprise there during summer league. They're going to be opening up their preseason camp in Calgary, and they're going to be playing their first preseason game in Vancouver. So they're practicing at Jack Simpson Gym at the University of Calgary. Go Dinos! From September 30th to October 2nd. There'll be an open practice on October 3rd. And then they're going to be opening their preseason against Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets on October 6th at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. This is going to mark the 7th Canada Series game in Vancouver and the first since 2023 when the Raptors beat the Sacramento Kings 199 there. Tickets for that game are going to be going on sale August 27th. Now, Toronto's going to be closing out its preseason with a trip to Boston on October 15th before welcoming the Brooklyn Nets on October 17th.
Excellent. Let's talk about the Blue Jays. They lose to the Yankees yesterday. Oh, well.
Just when we were getting hyped about that franchise record 11-game home winning streak, they went ahead and they
got it done. They got it done.
It wasn't the end of the world. It was a 9th inning home run. They had an opportunity to try to get themselves back into it, but unfortunately fell just a little bit short, leaving a couple guys on base, as is tradition. So they're right where they need to be. They're still in first overall. The gap between them and the Yankees hasn't significantly changed. So,
yep. Rubber match tonight.
Yep.
Let's
definitely
go.
Going to be watching that.
Listen, they've done it. They've done a great job. I mean, we'll see what they do, and as far as who they'll be bringing in at the right time, I guess. I was watching actually some of the experts talking. They were talking about relievers, bringing in a couple of relievers. So they're thinking what I'm thinking. Pitching.
Yeah, there's
pitching.
There's a lot of that going on. As it currently stands, another team that's entering the mix is a $14.25 million veteran pitcher that they're looking at here. They're predicting that the Braves are going to be shipping Pierce Johnson to the Jays for a meaningful return ahead of the trade deadline coming up in a week here, because we've had bullpen injuries. Johnson actually kind of fits the Blue Jays' late inning mold as a spin rate monster. He throws his curveball 70% of the time, and it's one of those. I hate to say this because it sounds derogatory, but he's one of those junk ballers that the Blue Jays seem to excel with later in the lineup and closing stuff out. He's got a 2.7 ERA and 36 2/3 innings this year, striking out 39 and only allowing 30 hits, which is, something that I'm certain that the Jays will be happy to use. The question is who comes back. I'm not 100% sure what the Jays could possibly give up. They may have some prospects down in Dunedin that I'm not aware of, or even the Bisons, but $14.25 million to pick up for an additional pitcher is something I'm a little leery of.
Well, they've got to make a decision. They need pitching, and playoffs. You need pitchers in playoffs. It's just that simple. I'm old school in that regard. Let's go over to the NHL. Let's go over to the Winnipeg Jets, and they're rummaging through the Florida lineup to see if Nico Mikkola can work out for them.
Yeah, the fact that Florida's kind of hamstrung themselves when it comes to cap space here means that Nico Mikkola could possibly be a cap casualty, not this summer, but next. With names like Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, and Artemi Panarin possibly becoming available if teams can't swing deals. There are a lot of front offices around the league that are already strategizing for a summer that could redefine their rosters and their futures. Again, one of those teams is Florida, fresh off back-to-back Cup wins. Florida has a core locked in long term, but not everyone is going to stick around. Nico Mikkola enters the final year of his deal, and with the Panthers' salary cap tightening, he may become a cap casualty despite being a key piece of their playoff successes. At 6'6", He's got the kind of physical edge and defensive reliability that thrives in postseason hockey. He's not flashy on the score sheet. He's usually around 20 to 25 points a season, but it's his ability to shut everything down with a plus 23 shot rating and 335 hits for 13th most in the NHL. You know, it's one of those players that could potentially serve a team that already believes that they have a really decent chance of making the playoffs.
Yep. If you're looking for a tenderizer, McCullough's the guy you want. Jets former D-man announces retirement at a young age.
Yeah, so normally most people don't announce their retirement at 32 years old, but Nathan Beaulieu has officially announced he's retiring from professional hockey, bringing an end to an 11-year NHL career that saw him play for 4 teams. He was a reliable stay-at-home defenseman from Strathroy. He was drafted 17th by the Habs in 2011 and made his NHL debut during the 12-13 season. He played 471 regular season games, 12 goals and 86 assists for 98 points. He also had 5 assists in 21 playoffs appearances. He spent time with the Habs, the Sabres, the Ducks, and the Jets. His best season was actually with the Habs in 16-17 when he had 28 points in 74 games. So, yeah.
Let's talk about the Flames. They're firing on all cylinders. Flames Matt Coronado emerging as a core piece.
Yeah, one of those guys that you really didn't think was going to do anything, really. He wasn't spectacular in his rookie year or his sophomore year, but when they locked him down to a 7-year, $45.5 million contract in May of 2025, that was as a result of the fact that, last season he had 180 shots on net. That's not just volume. That's confidence, instinct, and opportunity all rolled into one. For somebody finding his full stride in the NHL, he's actually looking like a legitimate offensive threat. He finished 3rd on the Flames in both goals and points with 24 and 47 total. He always found ways to contribute, whether on the power play at even strength or in key moments in late games. He had a 13.3% shooting percentage. Just hoping that he manages to maintain that, having signed that $45.5 million extension.
Fantastic. Thanks for doing this, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem, Frank. We'll see you Friday.
He's Aaron William Freeland. William Aaron Freeland. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank. Candid Frank's in the UC 1030 on YouTube if you want to follow some of the stuff that we do. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next time, and we'll see you Friday, I guess.